Our next topic is about a game called Homefront. Some of you may, of course, have remembered about the game in the series known as Homefront, a title that had a lot of potential and kind of just fizzled out, especially with Homefront The Revolution, which really got just a ton of hate and just bad reviews and such. And I think that might have been that kind of point in which we really saw the series fizzle out in a series that really had potential, but it was kind of in a crowded space, and it was something that I felt was a little bit different, but they just didn't really maybe do the things necessary to keep the series going. So let's talk about it. Patrick Klepek of Vice, he wrote an article, and it was about the Homefront sequel didn't get many glowing reviews, but the developers have kept cranking away at the game and continuing to update it. Homefront The Revolution is a game that arrived to thoroughly mediocre reviews and unflattering technical issues that have marred impressions ever since. Sometimes mission objectives fail to load into the game entirely, wrote Waypoint's Austin Walker in a review for Giant Bomb last May. Sound drops out in the middle of a gunfight, or else an inexplicable and banging noise begins emitting from the corner of an empty room in your safe house. Unpredictable hitches in the action on both PC and PS4 are by far the most frustrating offender. Vehicles would float in the air sometimes too. Guys, let's just put it this way. There were a lot of issues. Even though I thought that there was really cool concepts in Homefront, really cool concepts and some like interesting ideas. They weren't able to deliver what we were really hoping for. It's definitely true to say that as a team, we weren't satisfied with the game at launch, said producer David Stenton. We put years of hard work into it and felt we weren't really doing the players justice to the ambition and the hard work that we'd put in. It made us at launch more resolute to work tirelessly to improve the player experience over the next few months. These days, Stenton is a creative director at Homefront The Revolution, developer Dan Buster, formerly Crytek UK. The game's origins are back with the now defunct THQ. I found myself on Skype with Stenton because of an email that genuinely shocked me a few weeks back, which promised an update for the game with PlayStation 4 Pro support and details on the game's third downloadable add-on, Beyond the Walls. It's clear that Homefront The Revolution was not the blockbuster everyone involved was hoping for, and during such moments, it's not surprising to see companies quietly scuttle their plans for the future. That DLC we promised would be coming nearly a year later. Well, maybe it's not worth it. And yet, Dan Buster has continued to hammer away at Homefront The Revolution. It took several months of work to whip the game into technical competence. It didn't really turn a corner until September, long after most had written the game off and moved on. The game came out in May. Since then, they focused delivering what they'd promised for old players and hopefully new ones. We knuckled down, he said. It reminded me of a story I wrote for Kotaku about the 2-year journey for a developer to finish DLC for Rambo the Game, an awful on-rail shooter that was savaged by everyone, and yet the DLC eventually came out. Stenton told me the team wasn't psychologically set back by the game's reception, a claim I have trouble fully buying, but instead turned any frustrations towards a series of patches. So yeah, I feel like with any game, guys, and any game developer out there, you look at these things, and I do think that it affects game developers for sure. When they hear negative feedback and negativity around their game, that bothers you. You don't even want to come into work because it's like, man, dude, I'm going to get so much hate on Twitter. I'm going to get, why am I working on this project? I just want to move on to something new, have a fresh start kind of thing. So it is kind of hard to, it is hard to kind of believe when they say that, that people weren't really having real problems with working on the project even after all of the hate. When I first started the game, I wasn't really into it, said Reddit user Tone3000, one of the few folks I could find singing the game's praises online. Shooting fell off, stealth was terrible, and a number of other things, but as I started playing it with a different mindset, I enjoyed it more for what it is. I played it with the mindset that this is guerrilla warfare, hit and run type of tactics. I realized I am a rebel and therefore inferior to this strong government. As I play it with this in mind, I realize how great this game is. It really makes me feel like a rebel. And look, I gotta say, guys, he's right on this. Now, when you kind of play it in a different way, like I didn't fully finish the game. I actually just couldn't get through it, to be honest with you guys. So I don't think it was absolutely terrible. There's a lot of games that I am not able to fully finish because, you know, I start kind of losing interest in the game or whatever the case might be. I did play some of the game, though. And what I'll tell you is I agree with some of what he's talking about, that guerrilla warfare, you kind of have that kind of that mindset. I think that all those things are true, but it's really the execution that just was very weak, right? It didn't hit home for me, and that was the unfortunate thing with this game. It was kind of like a lot of those other games out there, like Freedom Fighters and, you know, Army of Two, and, you know, good ideas, great ideas, but just didn't fully, you know, hit home for me, and it's really unfortunate. It's these types of fans, a combination of diehards who've continued to quietly champion the game through its hard times, and curious players attracted by the $10 price tag on places like Steam that Stanton relies on. First impressions are hard to break, and the developers who made a game that didn't work right the first time aren't exactly the people with the most legitimacy. We're so grateful for the fans that really appreciate for what it is, and for the gameplay, and for the things that it tries to do differently, he said. Obviously, it's an ideal situation if you can get players on board to kind of fight in your corner. So you're relying on your own hard work and DLC and patches, but you're relying on your fans and the players to help try and communicate out that a lot of these issues are resolved. It might be too late for some, but Stanton said he's encouraged by the response to the game's DLC and regular updates. The hope is that when Steam Forum topics like "despite the initial bad reviews" pop up, it'll have people making the pitch. Yeah, the game is much better now than what it was on launch, wrote the first response to that topic, and the current price is more than okay for what you get. It's a step in the right direction. So, look, could we see Homefront, the Revolution, could that eventually, you know, at some point or another, who knows, whether they make a sequel or whatever the case might be, could it be a comeback story? Kind of like, you know, No Man's Sky and what some of these other games are trying to do, right? Could it be a comeback story? I don't think it will be, guys. I don't think, like, even with another Homefront game and all of that, it's hard to say. I mean, sure, it's definitely possible, but when you have other games that you can choose from, like The Division and just other games out there that are being promoted and consistently advertised by big developers and advertisers, it's hard for me to believe that this could really be a big time comeback story. It would be, I would love it. I would love if it was a comeback story and that they fixed everything, and then I could go back and kind of play it all the way through and enjoy it and be excited for maybe the next iteration or the next expansion, or that be DLC, or just the next thing, you know, the next game in the Homefront franchise. Because I thoroughly did enjoy the first one. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, even though it had problems as well. And the second one was just kind of a step backwards for me. But I think ultimately what happened to Homefront, guys, was just as we kind of mentioned, there was just like a number of things that went wrong. And by the time that they finally fixed everything, it was like they had lost their entire fan base. Not really the fan base, but just the player base had just been pretty much wiped out. But that being said, guys, I would love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about this? Are you guys still Homefront fans? Do you guys want to see the continuation of the franchise, or do you think it just needs to kind of like be what it is, and, you know, every once in a while you have people that jump on the game? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below.